Guys can go
All
ahead.
right, I'm going to share my desktop. I'll go ahead and be I'll be the clicker.
Okay. Are you sure? I can do it too.
Okay. Well, if let's see here, remote control. Well, I can't remote control. So
here, I can request it.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. We're recording, so whenever you're ready to get ready, or whenever you're ready to get going.
All right. We're ready to get going. All right. So I want to welcome Dr. H.Schuessler and colleagues to Group 2 in our presentation of Microsoft IIS Overview. There will not be any handouts, but copies of the presentation are available on request. Next slide, please. Introduce our group. We have Andre Coleman, Joshua Dalton, Aisha Saeed, and myself, William Johnson. I'm going to let everybody tell a little bit about each other or about themselves. So, Andre.
My name is Andre Coleman, the Director of Information Technology at Altera Drilling. I enjoy IT and also working through projects at home.
Okay, Joshua.
Hi, yeah, my name is Joshua. I'm an internet engineer and administrator for the city of Richardson, and my main responsibility is to monitor and basically be held accountable for running the internet services that happen all over the city of Richardson. Additionally, I work as well with the police department very closely in digital formatting, or sorry, digital forensics. That was an interpreter error. Digital forensics. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm William Johnson. I go by Bill. I bring to the group a broad history of 32 years in computer and networking industry, supporting a variety of companies starting at Radio Shack Computer Products Division, Grid Systems, AST Computers, and in the silicon industry, I worked for Atmel Corporation for 7 years, from 2000 to 2007. 2007, I joined JPS Health Network, and I'm their senior network engineer at JPS Health Network. So, Aisha.
Hi, my name is Aisha Saeed. I'm an academic advisor at Eastfield College. I love the IT world, and I also work with software systems and computer applications.
Okay. So you see we bring a broad background of knowledge to for the IT world. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So we know a little bit what we're talking about, and a lot of us have grown up with either IIS or dealing with web servers. All right, so what is Internet Information Server? What is an IIS server or a web server? Well, IIS and all web servers fall into what we call a client-server model. And specifically, they're designed to deliver up HTTP, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol pages. Hold on. Hypertext Transfer Protocol pages in the form of web pages, which are utilized by different web browsers like Firefox, Chrome, Microsoft Internet Explorer. They also provide different services or extra services and extended services like HTTPS, which is the secure version of HTTP, File Transfer Protocol, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and NNTP, which was very popular in the early web services, but an NTTP is not so much anymore. But they're in the academic field. I think they still do a lot in NTTP. So next screen. So where did it come from? Where did IIS in particular come from? Well, IIS its meager beginnings was a web server research project at the European Microsoft NT Academy Center in Edinburgh, Scotland. It was first introduced as freeware, and then grew out of that because when they tried to actually utilize it as Microsoft.com, it just couldn't handle the volume. So Microsoft had to go back and did a forklift rewrite, and the first release of Microsoft IIS was released in 96, 95. I mean, it's, it was right in that era. So next page. So history of Microsoft and its internet, the IIS. It started off the IIS 1.0, obviously, and has been growing ever since. 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 on up. I mean, big releases are like when NT 2000 came out. 5.0 added a lot of different features. The .NET, around in that era, actually in the that decade, really made a big impact on IIS and making it a much more vibrant platform. As we grew into 2000. Windows 7 came out. Well, IIS 7 came out in 2008. 8.5 is the current version that's released with Windows Server 2012 R2, which is your current release of the Windows platform or the server platform. IIS is also integrated into the not only the server platforms, but also into the workstation platforms. So you can also see that on the slide, you can see multiple different versions released with the different workstation OSs. And 2016, Windows 2016 will be Windows 10, or not Windows 10, but Windows IIS 10.0. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So this brings us up to current day. So where is the IIS Internet Information Server today? What is it today? It's a flexible, secure, and manageable web hosting platform that can handle almost anything you throw at it, whether it be media streaming or web applications or there's just so many different things that are being brought out on the web today. And it's scalable. It can grow and shrink environments. There's all sorts of neat things that are being done with IIS and web servers in general. So, and what, if we looked at this growing and what is growing into the future, and IIS is actually with the release of 10.0, IIS 10.0, they're going to be releasing HTTP 2.0, which is going to place them squarely, their feet squarely down on a foundation for the future. So we're looking at, IIS is going to be, it's been around and it's going to be around. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Josh, and Josh is going to present the next slide. So next slide.
Great. Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Josh. I'm going to basically start with IIS and all the different servers that we use. We have Microsoft Server, which is available on 2012 server. That only has 8.5, but soon we'll be releasing 10, and that 10.0 is still under the beta testing phases. It has not been fully released yet. 8.5 is the current system that is running and being used. The main advantage about this operating system with 8.5 is that it can be basically functioning on a standalone computer. It doesn't need to be attached to anything else. Next slide. Okay, so when we go ahead and install the IIS on our servers, what we have to have is some minimum requirements for the system to be able to run. Those minimum system requirements are a 1.4 gigahertz on the standalone or on the single core, or a 1.3 gigahertz on a multi-core, which means a quad-core processor or something like that. It also needs to have memory or RAM requirements that's above 2 gigabytes. And that's going to be for each system that it's running on, each server. Or if you want to run it on the virtual machine, which is now very, very common and popular, it's in vogue today, that then requires a 4 gigabyte RAM to run on that. And so there are lots of different roles and different servers that it can manage simultaneously. Also, for IIS to run, there's a 160 gigabyte requirement, and that is for the system with a partition. Next slide. IIS also has a multitude of different features. So what we're trying to do is basically select out what's going to be the most popular and most common. And a lot of times these are most useful because they're going to be the most renowned, and people look for that reputation when they're going to go to a service. So Windows, for example, people usually use that with IIS in conjunction, and those can work together to provide basically optimal functionality. So for those who are developers and are web developers, they can then streamline this with multiple types of applications on the Windows system. So that, yeah, basically connects it up to be the most popular. A main benefit about these features under IIS is that, first of all, you can use them on the computer itself. Okay, so that you can then basically create your own web. You don't have to be on a server to do that. It's capable of offering that up on a single desktop user. And then secondly, it can expand out to the web. So if you have just one server, you could then link it to another server quite easily, and those two could work together. And that helps with load balancing. So if you have maybe even 5 or 6 in the network there, then you've got several different web pages that are stored in different places, and all of them can be functioning kind of as a cohesive whole there. Next slide. Okay, so now just expanding out into the features that are offered. There's HTTP bundles of features here, and that includes development, it includes health, security, performance, the medical. I mean, so many different applications. Like, so a long time ago, there was the native application that was used, and that can also go along with Aspect or ASP.NET, ASP.NET. The two can work together, and then that way they can connect up to all of those different sort of subcategories and be functional. IIS can also integrate with other management tools like simple internet management tools, filing servers, transferring, just several different support services for web. So support content. They can support web content. Several different ways that it can do that for businesses, for people who are accessing the internet to link and communicate, to get on and collect information, and then storage of content. So for example, live weather, any simulations, game running, advertising, all of those little links that are on the servers can be using that content, which is very cool. Next slide. Okay, it looks like I maybe jumped ahead in some of this stuff, but going back here, the IIS also has security features, which include desktop platforms like API. For example, as I just mentioned, the developers can go ahead and build their native application. When they develop that, they can then overlay that, integrate that with API code. And that can basically create almost a new IIS environment. Next slide. So IIS, most importantly, offers security. Today, there is a lot of data breaches that occur, and so we need to have special protocol, more or less, protocol security features to be sure that we can safeguard this information. And the good news is that IIS does offer that. They offer a tremendous high level of security, including SSL protocols that keep things very secure in the system. And once these are set, what you have to do is actually enable IIS to run those on the SSL for any specific entity, like a bank, for medical records, or for funding information, money transfers, etc., patients information, billing information. You want to protect that. And so you want to enable SSL to run those specific credentials and information protection means. So a great practice is when you're running the system, you always have to have a backup. So if you set up a new web page, for example, you're going to want to make a backup so that in case that crashes or it's compromised in some way security-wise, then you have a backup that you can launch from to rerun it. The cool thing about that also is that when you have some anonymous, I guess someone coming in anonymously that you feel is a safety breach, like a potential hacker, someone who you can't validate, you don't know who they are, you can turn off that IIS system so that other people wouldn't be able to access it. So then it's functioning more like an internal system where the people who are on the dictionary and are deemed active users, there would be a registry of those, and they would continue to have internal access to that website through the IIS. But other external people trying to be privy to the information would be blocked out. So that is a very nice security feature that IIS offers. Next page. Next slide.
Josh, thank you.
Okay, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Josh, thank you. Great job. Great insight into the application of Windows, IIS, and Windows Server 2012. What I'll go over now is the development platform. The .NET framework is a technology that supports building and running next-gen applications and XML web services. .NET is designed to fulfill multiple objectives. A couple we'll go over. One is to make the development experience consistent across a wide array of applications, such as Windows-based applications, and also Windows-based additional Windows web-based applications, rather. A second feature would be that with IIS or .NET framework, you're also able to build all communications on a standard, industry standard. Ensure that the code base on the .NET framework can integrate with any other code. For example, here we like to utilize that Microsoft supports Visual Studio as one of the preferred methods for coding in .NET framework. Next slide, please. The integration pieces. ASP.NET integration allows web applications to fully leverage the power, features, and extensibility of ASP.NET. The ASP.NET features include form-based integration, membership, session state, and unified experience to leverage all types of content provided across the entire web application. Developers typically are very familiar with the ASP.NET extensibility model because it provides rich .NET APIs to build IIS server features that are powerful and those that are written using native C++ and APIs. Next slide, please. What we'll look at here is some of the benefits of the Windows Server 2012 operating system, which supports IIS. Windows Server allows you to run some of the most important workloads and also provides rich recovery options. The idea of Windows Server 2012 is that it is enterprise class, that it provides performance and scalability to run large workloads, robust recovery options, and to reduce downtime. It's application focused. It supports open frameworks. You can actually build, deploy, and scale applications and websites typically just on that server alone. It's very cost effective, multi-tenant aware, provides storage and network options, not simply to the networking devices, but also Windows Server can provide those. Supports industry standard hardware. It's user focused for VDI deployments, and it can utilize the low cost of storage. Next slide. Windows Server 2012 comes in 4 flavors or 4 editions: Data Center, Standard, Essentials, and Foundation. These typical editions are based on your virtualization needs and the needs of your organization. The idea that for Data Center, for example here, Data Center has an unlimited rights to virtualize any other server that you have on there or other operating systems. The idea that it does come at a pretty pricey cost. It is a per core license starting at $61.55. On the low end of that, as you look at Foundation, the edition has no virtualization rights. It is to a single server with 1 processor and 15 users and only as an OEM model. So the idea is that you definitely need to understand your organization needs and requirements before installing any of the server OSs. Next slide, please. Windows Server 2012 and Data Center and Standard Editions, both are, like mentioned earlier, based on your virtualization requirements. Data Center Editions for highly virtualized private cloud solutions. Standard Edition, light or non-virtualized environments. The Essentials Edition for small business, 25 users, running on servers up to 2 processors alone. As we look through the data center licenses here, it is again based on the idea of a per core license for data center and for standard edition. I'll now pass it over to Asia. Next slide.
Okay. Can somebody click to the next slide? Okay, so bringing this all together, IIS is designed to deliver high speed and secure information publishing. So it also serves as a platform for developers and software vendors to extend the internet's communication capabilities. It started as a web research project and then was developed by Microsoft as their own. IIS's purpose is to host and run web applications. It's one of the most powerful web servers in the industry, but it's backed by Microsoft. Currently, it is a flexible, secure, and manageable web server for hosting anything on the web. IIS also supports the following: FTP, FTPS, SMTP, NNTP, HTTP, and HTTPS. There is no additional cost for web service applications. However, there is a cost for operating systems. You can increase productivity by focusing on a single platform. And there is also a lower cost of administration of servers by using standard platform and services. So there's a larger community of knowledgeable administrators that translates into reduced staffing cost. Next slide, please. There is reduced downtime and increased profits. IIS is supported directly by Microsoft and has a dedicated staff to support and answer most problems. IIS is optimized for the Windows operating system because they're both developed by Microsoft. There's a high return on investments. So with a large corporation like Microsoft, they have an involved interest to ensure that security issues will be addressed in a timely manner. So that means that we will not have to depend on a user-supported community to resolve the issues. And some challenges with IIS is that it needs constant security updates. So they suggest to do regular backups, enable SSL security, and just keep the server updated. That concludes our presentation. I'd like to thank you for taking out the time to listen to our group's presentation over IIS.
All right, great job, guys. It's a great presentation. I really kind of like this format. Couple of quick questions, and then I'll let you all go. Talk to me just briefly about the market share that IIS has relative to, say, Apache and OS X Server and the other web servers that are out there.
I would say that
This is Josh. I can think of one. The number of people that we're using most Windows. You know, everyone uses Windows, so you have a high chance of movement and mobility within the business. Marketability. So it's very, very small number of customers reporting so far. So I think that this market is going to help because business uses Windows and they would prefer to use that with IIS and then merge them rather than having 2 different platforms that have to work together on a separate server. And then that's going to increase work and budgeting as well. Okay.
Anybody else?
Well, the last thing I would mention is that IIS, based on the industry, Microsoft IIS is probably on the lower end. It is not the most utilized web server out there.
Okay.
Probably 10% less in the market.
Just say that last part again, please.
10% or less in the market.
Okay. Okay. And I guess the idea behind IIS being, Windows based and being used somewhat, how do you set yourself apart as an expert in IIS compared to, say Apache or OS X Server? So how do you go about, training for it and relative to some of your peers that might have similar training, how do you set yourself apart?
I would say that you also need to know the operating system as well as you are able to manage the IIS platform itself. Because it is component based, knowing how to manipulate and also configure each of the components make you a nice asset for any organization.
Okay. Anyone else?
This is Josh. That's why we hire programmers or API developers. They are responsible for doing that job.
Right. Sorry about that. I was muted. I was gonna bring this up. I pulled this actually out of our slide presentation. Netcraft, which is a well-known internet services hosting market share analysis. They back in 2014, and I think the numbers are increasing more toward Microsoft. But back then, they were showing basically 51% of the market share was held by Apache, and then the rest of it was developed or held by others. But you were saying that actually, if you looked at if you compared what was in development as compared to what's actually on the market as in production, it was more even. It was actually about 37% IIS of Apache and 33% IIS servers. So I think you're going to see a shift toward Microsoft, and it mainly has to play with the .NET and the platform. So, and to answer your other question, my input would be that you would need to be, what I see in our market where we have our developers is that they go obtain credentials just like with our networking credentials. Like since I'm a network engineer, the Cisco certifications play well, especially with the hiring process. And there are the same certifications available for Microsoft. So obtaining training, validated training, and the certifications play well in the environment. So especially if you're looking for job changing, so.
Right, and that was kind of the point behind the questions. I wanted I want everybody to kind of start thinking about how do you position yourself strategically to be able to get those jobs that you want, to be able to advance in the positions that you're in currently. And it's about trying to make yourself indispensable. Not only do you not want to worry about being laid off, you guys want to worry about getting promoted, making more money. So.
Right.
And trust me, I want you guys to do that too. So, the more money you make, the more you get back to Tarleton, right? That's how that works. So that was really it as far as the questions on the presentation. One last thing I wanted to follow up with is, what is your opinion of Zoom, of doing presentations this way? What did you like? What did you not like? What could be improved?
I'm trying to think.
Well, we've been using
This is Josh. I think that it's great because Zoom has a bridge conference that allows us to connect to users, to use sign language interpreters on the video relay, which I think is fantastic. So I think it's great.
Good.
That's cool. I didn't know it did that. We've been using it. Matter of fact, I invested in it and I went ahead and bought a license for it. So I'm going to use it here for my, I'll use it for my college career, and I'll also probably use it for my work career as well. I like this. It seems to be a very low cost, effective platform. It rivals. I think it rivals WebEx. It's a pretty good application.
Yeah, I agree. It was really good. As there was a feature like sharing your screen, like Bill gave me access to his screen and I was the one, clicking on the slides. It's really helpful overall.
Okay. Great. If you've had me before, I've traditionally gone through the process of having asynchronous presentations. I would have groups that would create a presentation and submit a link to it. And, I got to watch the presentation, and that helped to articulate some of the points from a paper or something like that. But the ability to go back and ask a question or ask for clarification in the synchronous session, I like the idea of that. So I've been trying to move more towards this model. And so I was interested in getting your feedback about that, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate you taking the time today and figuring out a schedule that worked for everybody. I hope it worked well for everybody, didn't inconvenience anybody too much. Again, I apologize for being a little under the weather, but so anything else anybody want to share?
Well, I was just curious. I noticed you'd already posted the Apache group. So, and so now what's the process now? We evaluate each other, and then that's part of the presentation, right?
Yeah. So what's going to happen is this is part of your grade. This is be like 80 points, I think, is what it's set up as.
Yes.
I think one person from each group has already submitted the assignment, so that's what I really needed so that I could score the rubric. So as long as one person submits, that's all I really need. But then the rest of the process is for me to post these to a link to YouTube in the discussion board. And then I want you to go out and I want you to look at that Apache group. I want you to look at that OSX group, watch their presentations, and, figure out a question. Find a question that you're interested about, something that they alluded to but perhaps didn't answer, something that you'd like to see them expand on. You'd like to hear a little bit more about that, and ask them that question and see if you can't get a dialogue going back and forth. And the process is really, again, if you've had me before, you have some idea of how it works. I want the discussion board to be a dynamic environment or an engaging environment. So I'm really requiring a meaningful post on or before Wednesday. The dates have changed a little bit. I'm trying to tweak this each semester. So one meaningful post on or before Wednesday, and then an additional meaningful post on or after Thursday, but before next Sunday. And the idea is to get you to go to the discussion board, read things, post things, think about them, and then come back. I don't want somebody to wait till next Sunday and then go post 5 posts. Well, that makes it hard to engage. So that's the idea behind that. So that's the process. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Sure. Yes.
Okay, good deal.
This is Josh. I do have one issue. The one issue that I have is when you upload the 2 videos from other groups, those groups have no captions. So I don't really know how I can navigate through that and look through both videos without having captions and understanding exactly what they're talking about.
That's definitely a fair point. I had not considered that. Let me give it a little bit of thought, and I will figure something out. I'll figure something out. We'll make that work. Does that help?
Okay, yeah, just let me know.
Okay, I'll send you something later today. I won't take long to think about it.
The other question I've got is, and this is to ask for Aisha, is do you expect to have for everybody to have a webcam?
You don't have to. I mean, clearly it's nice to be able to see everybody, and kind of, that's part of the advantage to doing it this way. But no, it's not required. I think Dr. Jones does require it in his class.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten to that point yet. This is the first semester I'm doing it this way, so yeah, not a problem.
Okay. Hopefully next project I'll have it. Basically my laptop was, something happened to it, so I had to use my old laptop. That's why.
Yeah, actually I had a similar issue. The camera in this laptop that I'm using has a problem. So if you logged in the other day, you saw the video. It wasn't very good. This is an external camera, and it works a little bit better. So
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, if that's it, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And thank you very much. I appreciate you taking time.
No, thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.